Good morning to everyone here. Amma mattum illa, chitti ledhu naduvula perippa, chittappa, appa ellarum chetachu. Okay, so what a pleasure to be here. So nice, and I think first to start with, I'm a speech pathologist, Prakash Boominathan, working at Ramchandra Medical College. Here to talk about something related to voice health, vocal health, future-proofing your voice. Before I go on to talking about the topic, I just thought I should first congratulate the organizers for very nicely thinking about future-proofing about voice, because சுவர் இருந்தால் தான் சித்திரம் வரைய முடியும். Chitram is all the கலைகள், all the types of art form is all chitram. Suvar is your voice box. Without the voice, you really can't have anything rendered well. So it's very important for people to think about how to preserve what you have and cultivate it further. Several stalwarts in front of me. My respects to everyone here and the future generation who is all looking forward to looking at how to cultivate this further. So the presentation is structured in 4 different parts. The first one, I would talk about the uniqueness of the sound box, the singing voice. How are you producing sound? What is unique about it? The second one is the difference between singing and speaking. We use the same mechanism, however, the use of that is very different. The third is what are the vulnerabilities of the voice mechanism? And the last one is the most important thing, how do you take it for the future? How do you future-proof? That's the idea. Can I have the lights dim there so that, is it visible? I have some slides. Yeah, this is much better, I think. Okay? So, how do we produce sound? What is the mechanism underlying there? So, everybody thinks voice comes from the voice box, and I think there is no second opinion about it. The larynx is in the neck. That's where the sound comes from. But the origin is elsewhere. It's in your thought process. It's in your central nervous system. So the central nervous system is the first part where you are thinking of music, thinking of the sound you want to render, starts where. That gives the command to the most primary organ for sound production is your respiratory system, the breathing apparatus. Breathing apparatus, mooladhaname kaathudan. Moochu kaathudan, pechavo, paatavo marudu. So if you do not use the breathing mechanism well, definitely you will not be able to produce a sound which is enough not only for speaking, for singing as well. So it is very important for you to get that breath flow correct, triggered, and that comes from the thought process. So your thinking translates into an action through the central nervous system, and the central nervous system gives the command, and the first structure to receive the command is your breathing apparatus, the respiratory system. From the respiratory system, it goes to the laryngeal system, which is your voice box, the sound box, which is your larynx, which is housed in the neck, front portion of the neck. That has 2 small tiny structures called the vocal folds. Vocal cords, vocal folds. They are vibrating structures, masses of muscles, very small muscle, which vibrates in good speed to produce a sound. Okay? Any idea what may be the size of the vocal cords? How long could it be? What is your imagination? You know it is in the neck. What could be the size? Any idea, any number? Length of the vocal cord? It's a 1 centimeter organ. 1 to 1.5 centimeter. 1.5 centimeter for a very well-built man. Tall, well-built man gets almost like 1.5. And most of us have around 1 centimeter or less than 1 centimeter sometimes. Okay? And these vibrate at super high speeds. And what might be the speed you think it's vibrating? For a man, it vibrates around 130 to 140 times per second. In a second, it vibrates 130 times. Any vibrating organ produces sound. Any vibrating object produces sound. So when it vibrates around 130 times per second, it makes the sound which comes from the man. And for a woman, you think it would be higher or lesser? higher. Okay, for a woman it's around 230 times per second. In a second, the vocal cord vibrates around 230 times. And for a child, still higher. And the first sound we make, what is the first sound we make? Cry, birth cry. And the birth cry is such shrill sound, which is almost like 500 to 700 hertz, which means 700 times the vocal cords have vibrated in that first cry you made as the child was born. Okay? So the vocal cords are vibrating, and when it's vibrating, it creates impact not only in sound, it creates impact on itself. It makes an adduction, and because of the force, there could be certain changes in the voice box or the voice structure. From the larynx, the next, in fact, when you are making the sound, when the vocal cords are vibrating, it actually makes a sound like a buzz. The sound will be like zzz. This is what the sound it produces at the level of the larynx. But this zzz, buzz sound travels further up into your vocal tract, the vocal cavity. And in the vocal cavity, you have different parts of the mouth which can move and plays against each other to interrupt this buzz and make into speech sounds. Okay? So when I let the air out and the vocal cords have started vibrating, and if I kept my mouth open, I produce ah. If I spread my lips, I produce E. If I pucker my lips, I would produce ooh. Okay? And if I interrupt the sound, and if I interrupt with the help of lips, I would make pa, ba, pa, bha, ma. All these sounds. Okay? Now all these changes happens at the resonators or the vocal cavity. So the sound, the thought process starts somewhere here, and the thought process is changed into a motor command by the brain, and the motor command comes down first to the lungs or the respiratory apparatus, and the lungs start pushing the air out, and the air stream goes up, meets the vocal cords into vibration or sets the vocal cord into vibration, and the vibration yields to a buzz, zzz, sort of a sound, and that buzz is further modified in the vocal tract or the vocal cavity. And once it is modified into a particular spoken language, whether it is English, Hindi, Marathi, Tamil, எந்த மொழியா இருந்தாலும் எந்த மொழியில சொல்றோமோ அந்த உச்சரிப்பு சொல்றோமோ the sound வந்துடும். The sound comes out, and then you intone the sounds in a different way, and then it becomes into music. So simplistically told, but there is so much of artistic creativity which happens. The thought process is what is making all these creative expressions. So this is how the sound works, the sound production mechanism works. But this mechanism is interwoven with many systems in the body. Okay? And we call it as systemic. Systemic means உடம்புல இருக்கிற எல்லா உறுப்புகளும் சம்பந்தம் இருக்கும். Okay, systemic diseases or systemic conditions சொல்லுவோம். A simple example is flu. Flu is a systemic disease, which means once a person has a flu, every part of the body will have an effect or an impact because of the flu. Or hypertension, high blood pressure, diabetes, all these are systemic conditions. ஏதாவது ஒரு விஷயம் வேலை செய்யலனாலும் அதோட இம்பாக்ட் பல விஷயத்துல இருக்கும். அது மாதிரி voice production apparatus is in a way very systemic, which means it's connected or interwoven to different parts of the body, and different mechanisms work. Of that, three primary mechanisms are important. One is the endocrine system. Endocrine system is the hormones in your body, the chemicals in your body, which allows you to mediate your thought process and your actions. Okay? And several hormones work on the body and directly on the larynx, which will have an effect on the voice production mechanism. The second is the psychological aspect, the mind, the how you think. You know, it's important that to muster the courage to come and stand in front of an audience, to sit and perform for 2 hours, 3 hours, it requires a lot of psychological preparation, a mental preparation, a lot of preparedness at the mind level to perform is important. And that happens, and then it's linked directly to the voice box. If suppose in your mind you are not very ready, automatically the sound you produce will not be of a class which will be ready to showcase. So it's very important that the mindset which allows the person to produce a sound is again linked to the voice. The third is the sympathetic nervous system. There are a lot of other systems which are connected to the way the systems respond. In the sympathetic nervous system, is usually understood in a way like, for example, there is a threat or there is a danger. Immediately there is a response created in the body to allow you to prepare for the threat and act immediately. Same way, voice is connected sympathetically, which means any time there are changes in the environment or inside the body, the voice will immediately show. You are anxious, it will show in the voice. You are angry, it will show in the voice. You are afraid of something, it will show in the voice. So all of these are connected. And all these three basic systems are linked to the voice system, and they are in a way systemic, which means different parts of the body are linked to the voice organ, though we may think voice organ is only the voice box. Okay? So that's the first level of understanding about the sound productions, which means don't think the sound is just coming from the throat, so you don't really require to focus your entire attention to only the voice box, but it's related to multiple organs, which starts from your brain, goes to your respiratory system, the larynx of course, and the resonators, and all of these are linked to multiple other systems of the body. And it is important for the performer to understand that you need to work on several other systems and keep them in coordination for you to execute a wonderful music. Okay? Let me show the same thing, whatever I've explained, in a small illustration. Can we just play the first one, voice production? I actually wanted to show the voice box. How many of you have actually seen the vocal cords? Very good. Okay. I've been working last 20 years in this area, trying to create this understanding about the way the sound production happens. And we've been talking in several forums. It's the first time I'm coming to Kalakshetra, such an opportunity, and I feel that it's a blessing to see so many people who are interested to understand how the voice production happens.
Thank you so very much. He will be available outside, right outside the auditorium for a few minutes if any of you want to talk to him in person. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Sure.